be people who join us throughout, so I'm going to try to manage that as we go. We are going to go through a presentation, and I'll just ask you again as you come in, if you could just mute yourself so that we don't get echoing. We're going to go through a presentation that's going to give an overview of how AP exams are being administered this year. So this is a whole new world for all of us. I just want to thank, as we go into this, the high school faculty who teach APs, because they have really been working hard to attend a variety of webinars. They have been learning all the ins and outs of this new system and sharing that information with your children to best prepare them for these exams. So the College Board very quickly moved to this new model. It has not been done before. We're going to do our best to give you an overview. As I said, I've invited Steve Klurfeld, who teaches AP Econ and AP US History, Toby Gillen, who teaches AP French, Denise Flood, who teaches AP Latin, Ji-Yoon Kim, who teaches AP Chemistry, to join us this evening, as well as Anna Batacola and Aaron Kind, who have been involved as well, because I have to admit that I am not an expert, although when I was a teacher at Bronxville, I taught AP Bio and AP Environmental. At that time, they still had paper and pencil tests. So I'm just going to begin by going through this. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. I will do my best. I'm monitoring people coming into the meeting, and I'm also going to do my best to take a look at the chat questions, but some of those might need to be answered at the end. And we will also have some time at the end for people to ask questions as well. And I know the teachers, Mr. Klurfeld offered to do this. If we cannot answer your question tonight, we will do our best to get on some of our chat boards and the College Board website to see if we can get those answers. Of course, these exams begin next week. And let me just start by showing the schedule. So if you take a look at this year, for the first time, AP exams are being administered at home. They are 45 minutes long, and you can see the schedule below that indicates in bold which exams Bronxville administers. You can see that these exams are either at noon, 2 or 4 p.m. We will talk a little bit later in this presentation about students who have accommodations such as time and a half and how that will be managed by the College Board. These exams are open book and open note, and teachers have been very specific about providing guidance regarding what their students should have in front of them or near them, depending on the exam. And I think it was Mr. Ippolito the other day in a meeting indicated, you know, the reality is students aren't going to have time to look up answers given the timing of the exam. That's probably more of a security than a reality of students actually utilizing that for too much information during the test. But regardless, if your child has notes or their textbook out, they're allowed to. So that's an overview in general about the exams. And any of the teachers who are here, if you have anything to contribute as we go through these slides, please feel free to unmute yourself and do so. Okay, so what device should be used for these exams? So basically, we're recommending that during the exam or exams that your child is taking, that they utilize the newest or best available device in your home. You know, if that happens to be, in my case, if I had a child taking one of these exams, it might be my school laptop that they would use. Whatever in your home happens to be the newest or best available device. Ahead of time, planning for that, your child should update the browser. That is recommended by the College Board. Update the browser before taking the exam, and you can see how to do that right there. Certain programs need to be disabled during the exam. Faculty have reviewed this specifically with your children. In particular, there's a Chrome extension called Grammarly, which cannot be installed, or the student is going to be flagged for further review of their test. And for Spanish and French, due to the component that requires speaking, students have to download an app onto their phone ahead of time. And again, teachers have gone over this with your children. But your children, just so that you're aware, will have their phone with them if they're taking the Spanish or French exam. There's a couple other reasons they might have their phone with them that I'll go over in a moment as well. As far as the location where your child should take the exam, again, these are recommendations, best practices, as far as we understand from the College Board, and this is what teachers are recommending to students. That students obviously sit in a quiet location, preferably a room that has a door they can close, with little distraction, that the area should be cleared of all sort of distracting materials except their notes, their outlines. For some exams, and I will show you toward the end of this, I think I included this, but it might be a link. Students can have formulas, so that would be something they would want to have, or textbooks. Now, many of our AP teachers have actually assigned students, I know Mr. Klurfeld is one of them, to take a picture for homework of the area where they plan to sit for their exam, so that the teachers can make some recommendations. So again, just wanting to share with you what we're telling your children and provide you some guidance so you can support them. In terms of the internet connection, this is the first time the College Board is administering these exams online. So our fingers are crossed that this will go well and their servers will not crash. We have no control of that, of course. And just so you know, there is an alternate test date in June, should there be like a major issue. I hope that doesn't happen. But as far as your home internet connection, we are recommending that during the exam, you know, to the extent possible, the internet is sort of dedicated to your child and the capacity of the computer to be submitting their responses. In particular, you know, anything that's going to kind of gobble up bandwidth, like downloading or streaming. Let's say, for instance, my son, I have now allowed him to play Fortnite. That's what happens when you're in quarantine. That takes up a lot of bandwidth. I would not be allowing him to do that if my daughter were taking an AP. She's not, she's in 6th grade. But if she were, he would not be playing Fortnite at that time. So just some recommendations, because we don't want the your child to complete their exam and go to submit and have it not be able to upload, for instance. Okay, so as far as the administration of the exam, students are going to receive an AP exam e-ticket 2 days prior to the exam. There is a unique ticket for each exam. And so that ticket will be required. There's information on it, and you'll see coming up how the timing of all of this during the exam period, the administration of the exam. They will need that information to be entered in order to take the exam. Just to be aware, students are actually able, if they prefer, to hand write their answers, or students can type them. For students who decide to hand write their answers, and I know, for instance, Rob Cross, who teaches AP English Language, does have a couple of students who've indicated they would much rather prefer handwriting their answers. They would then take a picture of their work with their phone. They would upload it to their computer, and then it would be submitted as part of their exam material. This is also the case in some of the math courses. I believe AP Physics, for instance. I'm not sure, Ji-yoon, if this is the case for AP Chem, but those are instances where faculty have shared with students how to do this. So it is possible for some students to handwrite if they prefer, or in some cases on the test, it's going to require it. What faculty have recommended is that during the exam, students have 2 tabs open. One is the actual question where their answer will be submitted, and the other tab is a Google Doc where they will want to be writing their answer. And then with 5 minutes or less left, they will copy it from the Google Doc and paste it into the tab that has the submission capacity from the College Board. There's some important things to note here, and I think, excuse me, the teachers may speak about this at the end. Students should not be working from a Google Doc that is shared, obviously. And in fact, the College Board has indicated that they have the capacity to flag students who are utilizing a shared Google Doc. Similarly, students who have notes that they're going to use, again, this is open notes, should have those printed, because if they have in their browser open a document, let's say it was joint notes that, you know, a number of students created together, and again, that's a shared document, that may flag their answer, the College Board is indicating. So we just want to make sure that the Google Doc they open is just theirs, and that if they do have notes, hopefully they print them. There's some other ways to handle that, but I think printing is probably the best. Okay. The College Board has released a demo yesterday. And actually the AP World Languages exam app will release a demo next week. This allows students to practice the submission of their responses. And you can see there's a video and a demo link. So students can go into the site and they can try out what it's going to look like. We recommend students do this ahead of time. I'm guessing that the faculty, and again, they'll speak to this at the end, have maybe even required students to do so as a homework assignment. So what to have on the exam day, there's a specific College Board testing guide. I put the link in here. Pages 28 to 30 list the exact materials. Students having, for instance, calculators, formula sheets, and faculty have reviewed this in detail based on the requirements of their course. Again, as I mentioned, we recommend students have their notes offline. So let's say they download them to the computer and have them open in something other than, for instance, Google, or print them. Do not use a shared doc, because that could flag their answer as far as potential for cheating. On the day of the exam, this is what we're putting in place. We are asking students to report to their class via Zoom. Teachers that have multiple sections will have them all report to the same Zoom. We're asking them to do that 45 minutes before the exam. This will allow our teachers to take attendance. It'll allow us to follow up with anyone who's not showing up. Maybe they slept in, maybe they forgot they had an exam. It's happened. And then faculty are going to have the students go ahead 30 minutes ahead of the exam, check in. It's our understanding that it might actually take up to 30 minutes to check in. So we're going to have them report 45 minutes ahead, just so we're, you know, the teachers are able to sort of maybe give them some last minute recommendations, a pep talk, make sure everyone's there, and then go. If a student does have an exam prior, and if you look at the schedule, there's only, I believe, 2 days where students in Bronxville are taking, where we have students taking more than one exam in a row, potentially. then the teacher's going to be aware of that. For instance, if that student has extended time that they might not be able to get to the next class 45 minutes ahead of time. So we understand that. This is more to just make sure everyone's ready to go, has their computer, has everything they need, any reminders they need, any last minute questions. Here's some just overviews that the College Board released. So you can take a look on the exam day. So it shows, 30 minutes before start time, you're going to check in. The test is 45 minutes. The question will appear. You'll develop a response, et cetera, et cetera. It sort of breaks it down. And then submission. So I did include in here because we do have some students taking music theory. Music theory is a little bit different, and world languages are a bit different as well. I can assure you the teachers have reviewed this with your children. This is just for your information if anything comes up or if you want to make sure your child understands what's going on. As I mentioned at the beginning, the College Board has indicated that students with approved accommodations do not need to submit further requests, and that extended time will be automatically provided in the time box for the test. If for some reason something comes up for your child, you're going to want to reach out to Anna Batacola and let her know what happened so we can follow up with the College Board. Again, there is an alternate test date for all of these tests. We only want to use that in emergency instances, but that is something we can do. As far as what the College Board is telling us regarding cheating, so they are indicating that they will be doing a number of things in order to identify students attempting to receive help through the web, social media, etc. They're indicating that they will be monitoring social media and discussion sites to detect and disrupt cheating. They have indicated that they will post content to some of these sites designed to confuse or give incorrect information to students about the test, maybe incorrect prompts. In addition, after the fact, the students' exams will be scanned by plagiarism detection software, and their work will be shared for the first time ever with our teachers. Any student found violating exam security, the College Board has indicated that the College Board will report them to admissions offices for attempted cheating based on whether that student has taken SATs and where they're sending those scores, as well as their exam scores will be canceled. So just giving you an overview of what the College Board is stating they're going to do to prevent cheating. Finally, I just have a resources page. A number of people have taken a look at these YouTube videos and highly recommended them. So there's some helpful overview videos on this YouTube page. And then again, that AP testing guide is particularly helpful. So what I want to do at this point is just ask the teachers who are on to share anything that I missed or anything you feel like you want to sort of highlight regarding the test day for parents. And then we'll open it up to questions in either the chat or you can raise your hand and ask a question. So do any of the teachers, Steve, Denise, Toby, Ji-yoon, do you want to share anything that I missed or you want to particularly highlight?
I guess my only thing is the science exams tend to have 2 questions, and as soon as the students log in, they'll be prompted with the first question, and with about 5 minutes left, the timer will go, and the software will automatically proceed to the second question. They don't have to do anything about it, but they're not necessarily going to be alerted other than the 5 minutes left. So please make sure that the student is aware, and I've also reiterated this in my classes, but that the student, when the timer turns red, that they have 5 minutes left and they have to submit or they won't be able to access the question anymore. And a partial answer is better than no answer. And then after the timer is up, they don't have to do anything. It'll automatically proceed to the next question.
And automatically submit?
No, they have to hit submit.
They have to
If
hit
they
submit.
don't hit submit, it will not get recorded in the College Board server.
Okay. That's important. Steve?
I think you've hit on everything. The only other additional thought I had was an additional security measure they have will probably be many, many more versions of each exam than typical. I think in a usual year, there might be 2 or 3 versions of each test. I'm anticipating many more copies or different exams within our own cohort. So students will be taking different questions at that time.
Take it to your father. Okay. That's helpful. Denise?
And so one thing that was mentioned, if students are taking pictures of their handwritten work, that it has to be a JPEG or a PNG file, and sometimes iPhones will default to an HEIC file, and so that will not be accepted. So they should just check their phones and make sure that it'll save as a JPEG if they are taking pictures. That was something that was interesting that came up in one of the YouTube channels. The other thing is that the doc, if they're working on a Google Doc, I believe that also has to be made into a Word doc when they save it. So a Google Doc cannot be submitted, I don't think. I don't know, Steve or anyone else, are you aware? That has to be a PDF or saved as a Word.
Yeah, so the recommended method is to copy the text that you've been working from that other panel and place it into the College Board panel. But you can also submit a file. But to do that, if you're working on Google, you've got to save that as a Word or PDF file and then upload that document to the College Board site.
So we're recommending the copy and paste method.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was all.
Thank you. Toby, did you have anything you wanted to share?
The only thing I had to add, and again, we'll go through it, so it's only affects Spanish and French. It's the only exam that uses an app, a specific app that can be used on your phone or an iPad. So you can use an iPad as well. And it is the only exam where you don't have to hit submit. So everything is automatic, the recording's automatic, it submits automatically. And we have to and we'll go through the phone with the children, but you have to make sure that everything is turned off, all notifications, everything, all alerts. So that's going to be a process in itself, but we'll go through that with them. But it's only for Spanish and French.
And we have a question in the chat, which I don't know the answer to. That's why I invited all of you teachers. Once uploaded, are students done or can they make changes? I believe once they submit, they cannot make changes. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, is once you have uploaded. In my AP US history class, it's one question, you've got to work through it, and you click submit and you are done. In AP Econ, it's 2 questions. You work on the first question, submit, upload it. The next one comes up, you work on it, you submit it, you click on submit, and then you are finished.
Great. And then in the AP testing guide under what students need, so the question is about, for instance, AP World doesn't show anything. So what I would say is the following. That AP testing guide is giving you things students need to answer the question. So it would be things like formulas, calculators. It's not going to show anything for tests that don't have anything specific. So for something like AP World, students can have their notes, they can have their textbook, but there's no formulas, there's no specific components for that. So it's not going to list anything specific. For clarification, easy submission need not be in word processing format. They can be uploaded as an image. Correct. If students handwrite, then they can upload their answer as an image in JPEG, or I believe, Denise, you said PNG. I don't even know the file type that you talked about from the iPhone. But again, teachers are reviewing this with students. I mean, I just want to reiterate that this is all new since mid-March. So you can imagine this is a lot for all of us to get familiar with. And I just really appreciate the teachers of all the APs who have jumped in, learned this, communicated it with students. If there's a specific question you have, you should reach out to your child's teacher because they would know that specificity of the test. Just to clarify, can a Google Doc be downloaded as a PDF and submitted? Yes, I believe a PDF or a Word file can be submitted if a student is working in a Google Doc, or they can copy and paste into the AP site. Is there any procedure in case of complete technology failure? Yes. So this would be a situation, oh geez, okay, losing electricity in the neighborhood. That's not good. This would be a situation, and Anne, you can comment on it, where we would file with the college board to have your child take at the later date. Go ahead, Anne.
Right, for situations like this, we can request the alternate testing, which begins on June 1st, but we do need to file a form with the AP programs. That is not, if it's a serious issue like the electricity going out, it's very cut and dry. We can file for retake. I would just like to say also that it is extremely worthwhile to view those videos, the demo video. It's really so different that looking at what the actual test situation will be, it is so important. It clarifies what the test will look like, and also makes it so much easier, and the students are so much more confident when they actually take the test. They will see how the question is going to appear, locate the timer on the screen, and then understand that they have 5 minutes remaining when they do, and then be able to do it in an orderly fashion. If they don't familiarize themselves with the procedure, it will be very difficult because they're going to be concerned about the timing rather than about doing their work and then uploading.
Ji-Yoon, can I ask you to address this question for chemistry? Can the students divide their time between the two questions as they wish, or is the timing specifically enforced by the college board?
Yeah, so for chemistry and I believe all other 2-question exams, the student cannot divide their time as they wish. Typically with these exams, there's a longer style question and a shorter style question. My guess is that the 30-minute section will be for the longer style question and the 20-minute for the shorter style question, but the student cannot decide how much time to spend or how to divide that 50 minutes to spend on each question. It's determined by the College Board.
Great. If questions are submitted one at a time, will students see how many questions are in the entire exam and how many are left? Most of these exams are 1 or 2 questions right now. So they have significantly reduced the number of questions. They've essentially gotten rid of multiple choice questions, I believe, because it's just much easier to cheat. These are generally short answer essay sort of questions, and there's only a couple. So unlike, you know, the old exams where you might have 45 multiple choice and then some short answer and then an essay, we're talking about, like, Steve, what do you have? 1 essay on AP US? What's AP Econ?
AP Econ is similar to what was described for chemistry. It is a long question, which is 25 minutes to answer and then 5 minutes to upload. And then your second question comes up and that's 15 minutes to answer and 5 minutes to upload. So yeah, you're right. No multiple choice, just a few concepts, but they're going to be encompassing concepts. So, I mean, they'll get to some material.
Great. Other questions? Feel free to raise your hand. Oh, Denise, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to, I did a demo today in class of, they released some questions. So I did a demo in class and the timing is very, very tight. So for students who think they're going to be looking up a lot of answers and Googling things, the timing is extremely tight. We were just able to do the first part of a question within the time limit. And I think they noticed that. So just keep that in mind. I think the students need to keep that in mind when they're taking the test. They're writing 1 essay for some of those and tests for 45 minutes. It's going to be a tight time frame.
Yeah, I mean, our students are used to 80 minutes for a typical test. So this is shorter than what we would normally administer in our classes. I will say, you know, the AP is starting to release some of these practice questions, and the teachers, this is all coming sort of last minute because the College Board is developing these. leading right up to the test. So the teachers, like Denise is saying, are going through these with their classes as they come out. So we're doing our best as well to try to demonstrate for students what it's going to look like and make recommendations. From teachers who, like myself, when I was teaching, I was so familiar with the AP Bio exam. My kids had taken it 6 years in a row. I could tell them, make recommendations based on what I'd learned over time. We don't have that luxury right now because this is the first time we're going into it. Luckily, it's everyone's first time. So I think we're all in the same place, but I just commend our teachers for doing everything they can to try to prepare students as best as possible in the face of a lot of unknowns. Any other questions? I'm trying to just check if we have any coming up. Feel free to raise your hand. This is for parents. Your children, we hope, are very familiar with this. Feel free to ask them if they have questions that come up. They can ask their teacher. So Darcy asked, in math, is there really only one question? I actually don't know the answer to that. I believe there's at least two, but I could be wrong. It could depend on which math, whether it's A, B, or B, C. I don't know if anyone's seen that in any of the demos, Steve, Denise, Toby, or Ji-yoon.
I haven't, but I can speak to the concept of just one question. I mean, in AP Econ, there is one question that's going to be 15 minutes long, but it has multiple parts. So I'm assuming in math, you're going to see something like that, right? With many, many parts to it that's going to take 15 or 25 minutes.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, that's what, the long answer component of the calculus exam has always been. It's, 4 long answers, but each has part A through D, maybe. Other questions? What is the structure of the Latin AP 2 questions and how long is each? Denise?
Yes, so the structure is 2 questions. There are 2 prepared passages, one from Virgil, one from Caesar. That's question 1, 2 passages, and there are 9 questions within those 2 broader questions, there are 9 questions that they're asking them short answers for each passage. So 18 questions total for the total passages. And then there's a cite passage, and that has about 7 questions. So there's very short questions, like what's the case of this word? What is he saying here? So they're kind of short answer questions, but I guess it's 25 questions total of short answer.
Another question, is a child able to use 2 computers? Yes. I think even in our teacher session, somebody mentioned, a student could use 2 computers. You just have to be careful if they're writing their answer on one, how are they getting it to the AP site? The AP question can only be answered in one location for a student.
Your ticket gets you access on one computer. So whatever computer you've opened that question on, that's where the answer's got to be submitted.
Mm-hmm.
Are the teachers able to give students feedback on the practice tests? So yeah, I mean, the teachers can see the questions, so they can ask students to do their answers in a Google Doc and then provide feedback. So I imagine, again, these practice questions are coming out very late. So teachers are doing the best they can to focus on various things. One would be giving feedback, but another would just be practicing the timing of how to answer and the logistics of it. How is the grading going to adapt to this new format? So it is being adapted. So for instance, the rubrics for the essays are shifting. And the overall grading obviously is going to be different because there's a different number of questions and components. The College Board has indicated they're not changing the curve or adjusting it, but I don't know what is actually going to happen based on how this goes. So that's what they're saying ahead of time. What might they do when they get the results? I do not know. Any other questions? Let's see. Oh, the recorded presentation, this recorded presentation will be on the high school YouTube page, but I will send an email with the link to it to all sophomore, junior, and senior parents. So you should be looking for that probably in the next day or two, so you can review this at a later time. Again, I will just reiterate what Mrs. Batacola said, which is to go to this YouTube channel. You see it on this slide right here, and I will put it actually in the email, the link itself, as well as this AP test guide. I will put in the email because they are very, very helpful. And the slides, sure, yeah, I can send, when I send the email, I will send the slides as well separately so you can access the links. Sure.
And those short videos were also sent to each AP student yesterday.
Yes, so your child has the links. Is
And
the
Ann, I would
AP
just,
Yep,
sorry,
go ahead.
I
Yep.
would suggest the College Board videos have been very helpful. And this week, at least for Latin, because our exam is next week, they're doing a practice test, a timed practice test during one of their videos, and then they're reviewing it the next day. I'm not sure about the other disciplines, but that has been very helpful for the students. So if your students are looking for practice, they should go to that AP YouTube channel and do practice there.
AP English language essay, I have to tell you, I cannot remember. Rob Cross has the specifics about what the essay score is out of. So if you want to ask him via email, he can share it with you. I believe it is out of 6, which I believe is a little bit different than what it was in the past. So Ji-Yoon, do you want to share what you just found on the AP exam guide regarding how many questions?
Sure. So on slide 35 of the AP exam guide, they seem to say that, well, it says 1 question exams are English and history exams, and 2 question exams, and it says excludes world, language, and music theory exams. So it seems like everything else besides world language, music theory, and English and history will be 2 question exams regarding the earlier math question.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I would just say if you have any additional questions, please email your child's teacher or have your child ask their teacher. This, again, both the recording of this meeting, the slides that have been presented, the link to the YouTube channel, and the link to the AP test guide will be sent out as soon as this is up on the YouTube channel. I'm guessing in about a day at the most. And oh, one more question. How are the AP scores being implemented in the 4th quarter grades? The teachers want to wait and see how it goes for kids because they are not interested in punishing students. We did agree that no AP teacher would count the work from the AP for anything more than 20% of the quarter grade, and that no student would fail as a result of their performance on the AP. So we want to give kids feedback, but we don't want to punish them. This is new for everyone. So that is something that all AP teachers have agreed to. And the scores will still come out in July. Even though teachers are being told they will receive their students' work by the end of May, scores themselves, like whether your child gets a 3, a 4, a 5, a 1, a 2, that is still coming out in July. All right, so thank you all for attending. I hope this was helpful. We did our best to summarize everything we know. I think, we'll learn a lot through this first administration, but I think our students are well prepared to go into this. It may be a bit more stressful, but we wish them the best of luck, and please have them ask their teachers for any additional help if they need it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening and have a good rest of your week.